Hi guys, MySwing 6 video series. Here's our first feature of the series, rotations. More specifically, pelvis and ribcage rotations. As you can see, I'm in the software. We've got a 34-year-old female loaded up here. She's hitting an 8-iron. She's about a 5 handicap, so she's a good solid player. We've hidden the graphs and you can see her flight scope data at the bottom. We'll open up the settings. Here you can see all the rotations that we give, but for the MySwing 6 series, we're focusing mainly on pelvis and ribcage rotation. Couple of notes. O equals open, open in relationship to the target. C is closed or closed in relationship to the target. So how do we use these rotations? First, we can use the rotations at address for setup angles. So as you can see, her ribcage and her pelvis are aligned very similarly, both slightly open in relationship to her target. Okay, now we'll scroll it back about halfway. You can see she's already rotating quite a bit. Her pelvis is already at 44 degrees closed in relationship to the target, and her ribcage is 78 degrees closed. And we go to the top. You can see here 124 degrees of ribcage rotation and 65 degrees of pelvis rotation. Obviously that's a lot, but it's not uncommon for females to rotate more than what's typically observed as normal, like per se in males. The 45-90, those 45-90 numbers, 45 pelvis, 90 ribcage numbers, you can often throw them out with females as they are more flexible. So with Callie, while these numbers are rather large, it's not something to necessarily change at this point. A couple of things to notice. Most players we see will reach max rotation somewhere just before the top of the backswing. We define the top of the backswing as when the club changes direction. So it goes from actually the backswing to then moving back the other direction. Again, a lot of times we'll see max rotation stop here and the hips will start to unwind before the club stops. But with Callie, she gets all the way to the top of the backswing before she starts to change direction. So her ribcage and pelvis change direction exactly when the club does. So there could be a sequencing issue there to take a look at. The other thing to notice is the hips, and this is along the same lines, the hips actually rotate after the shoulders or after the ribcage starts to rotate. So we're at 124 at the top, and you can see the ribcage got to 121 before the pelvis has started to rotate. So with most good players, that'll be the opposite. You'll see the hips start to change direction before the ribcage starts to change direction. So maybe a little bit of over rotation. Maybe if we could get Callie to sequence her hips a little bit earlier to change direction in her hips, maybe it would shorten her backswing just a little bit and get the sequencing just a little bit better. Okay, we'll continue down. You can see when the pelvis is around neutral, the ribcage is about 27 degrees closed, and when the ribcage is about neutral, the pelvis is about 22, 23 degrees open, which is right about impact. We'll continue on to impact, and you can see our impact numbers. Again, those are all fairly normal inside the range. You don't want to see the ribcage get too open, as that can cause some path issues, and you definitely want to see the hips more open than the upper body.